What's up guys, it's Fulton. I hope you all had a great weekend and welcome back for another edition of Taylor Tech Review. We've got lots of great new stuff to cover today. We've got a couple of Zen 3 leaks, we've got some Intel Tiger Lake info, Intel maybe got hacked, and much more. So let's get started. We're going to get things started with our top story today being about Igor's lab finding a couple of AMD Zen 3 engineering sample part numbers. Now these are reportedly for the 16-core 32-thread Zen 3, and the highest clock sample has a 3.7 gigahertz base and a 4.9 gigahertz boost. That's 200 megahertz higher than the Ryzen 9 3950 base and boost clocks. And if you combine that with Zen 3's reported IPC increases, it's really going to put the hurt on Intel. So close to 5 gigahertz. We'll find out later this fall if AMD can hit the magical 5 gigahertz number. There's also a lot of speculation right now about what AMD is going to name Zen 3. With current rumors being that AMD is going to name it the 5000 series so that people don't confuse it with the Ryzen 4000 Renoir-based APUs that are based off of Zen 2. Now, I personally like this idea because it lets AMD get the APU naming scheme back into step with the CPU architecture, which has basically been out of step since Zen came in. Speaking of APUs, there's also been sightings of Cezanne, which is the Zen 3 based APU, which has an even faster version of the Vega graphics than Renoir does. Now, we're not going to be seeing Cezanne until early 2021 at least, but we may also see AMD's Rembrandt APU later next year as well, which will be their first APU with RDNA graphics. Now, Twitter sleuth at UnderFox3 spotted an AMD patent for a big little hybrid design, which is similar to Intel's upcoming late 2021 Alder Lake CPU, where it's got a combination of big cores to handle heavier loads, with the small cores handling lighter tasks and background tasks. Now, just because AMD filed a patent for this type of design doesn't mean that they'll ever make it. They could just be covering their bases on this. Intel put out a design, so AMD creates a design doesn't necessarily mean they're going to make it. Now, one difference that was noticed on the patent was that Intel's big little design left the sorting of what gets processed on the big and little cores to the operating system, whereas AMD's design appears to let the CPU handle the division of labor. And speaking of big, if you've ever wished for a portable 64-core Threadripper laptop crusher, then your wish has been granted courtesy of Media Workstations. This 35-pound beast is made from heavy gauge steel, includes a mechanical keyboard, and a 4K display. Portable Iron Man armor sold separately. Now, we've mentioned in the last couple of videos that Nvidia's in talks to purchase ARM, but it looks like ARM's owner SoftBank isn't banking everything on Nvidia. SoftBank has apparently also reached out to TSMC, Qualcomm, and Foxconn as well, with Apple having already turned them down. Nvidia's official GeForce account has also just posted a teaser and a countdown to the official launch of its next generation Ampere gaming GPUs coming out on August 31st. Now, we've got rumors flying fast and furious on Ampere, but we do appear to have some partial specs now on the new cards, and it looks like it's going to be a staggered launch, meaning, the whole series is not going to be released on the same day. Certain cards will be available immediately, with others coming out in the next, probably looks like a couple of months after. The 3060 and 3070 are rumored to have 8 gigabytes of RAM on a 256 bus, with the 3070 rumored to also have a 16 gigabyte variant. The 3080 will feature 10 and 20 gigabyte variants on a 320-bit bus, and the 3080 Ti coming in at 24 gigabytes on a 384-bit bus. AMD and Nvidia appear to be playing a game of chicken, and AMD's letting Nvidia show their hand first. So it goes without saying that the graphics market this fall is going to be one of the most interesting ones in probably 5 or 6 years, with Ampere and RDNA2 GPUs battling it out for your mind share and your dollars. Good times. Now, Intel has confirmed it will be revealing its Tiger Lake 10 nanometer CPU on September 2nd. That comes along with an architectural presentation on the CPU and the GPU. Tiger Lake is using 4 of the new Willow Cove cores versus the Sunny Cove cores that were on the current gen Ice Lake CPU. This is all going to be manufactured on an improved 10 nanometer plus process. Here we go with the pluses again. But it will let them boost these Tiger Lake CPUs up to an impressive 4.5 gigahertz, and the base clocks also seem to have improved dramatically from 1.5 gigahertz or so to up to 3 for the base clocks. So it looks like, despite all the years of delays, Intel is slowly improving its 10 nanometer production. Now, Tiger Lake will also have Intel's new Z graphics, which in leaked benchmarks do appear to be beating out AMD's Renmar APU slightly, and according to the block diagram from Intel, Tiger Lake will also have PCI Express 4.0 for the SSD. Not sure about the graphics, but it looks like it will have it at the very least for the SSD interface. Intel is going to be releasing an 8-core version of Tiger Lake in the first quarter of 2021 to keep the pressure up on AMD. So lots of good times ahead for everybody shopping for laptops this fall and next year. We've also got a ton of Alder Lake info coming out. That's AMD's first 10 nanometer desktop chip coming out in the first half of 2021. Alder Lake is a combination of big and little cores, the big cores handling the heavy workloads and small cores handling lighter workloads and background tasks. This combination of big and little cores will give Intel a lot of flexibility in terms of their lineup, because it lets them just do all kinds of combinations of big and little cores. Just look at the charts. You can see the number of variants that they can pick from. Now, Alder Lake has been confirmed to support DDR5 and PCI Express 4.0. Only time will tell how well this design works out. All I can say is you're definitely going to want to watch or read your favorite review sites to see how this chip benchmarks when it comes out, because the PC hasn't seen anything like this kind of design before. From what I understand, a lot of how well Alder Lake performs is also going to come down to how well Microsoft can improve the Windows scheduler to handle this, big little design philosophy. Intel is also investigating a leak of 20 gigabytes of confidential data and code that got leaked online. The leak includes a bunch of confidential Intel info, but looking through the list, I don't really see anything critical in here. And I'm not even sure if this counts as a hack so much as someone who had access to Intel's partner data, who just decided to ignore all of the NDAs and posted it online. Samsung just showed off its new Galaxy Z Fold 2, and I gotta say, I really like the idea of fold-out screens on a phone for when you need more screen real estate. Samsung has upgraded the screens to use thin glass instead of the plastic. I heard lots of bad stuff in the reviews about the plastic and how flimsy it felt. I like this idea just because I've pretty much gone exclusively to ebooks when it comes to reading my books these days. I'm either reading things in the EPUB format on an app, or I'm using the Kindle app. And I just quit buying hardbacks and paperbacks these days. It's just so handy to be able to have my entire library right there on my phone, as opposed to sitting on a bookshelf gathering dust. The Z Fold 2 comes with 256 gigs of storage. That's enough to hold all my books, my music, and a bunch of movies to boot. I'm still using an old Motorola G5 Plus, so when the Z Fold 2 comes out, I'll read the reviews and make a decision then. Hopefully it won't break the bank. What do you guys think about the Z Fold 2? Post in comments down below on what you guys think about fold-out screens in general. Speaking of breaking the bank, OWC has just released their Rover Pro wheels for the Apple Mac Pro for just $199. Let's face it, after you've spent maybe 35 grand on your Apple cheese grater, you're definitely going to be broke and ready to save a few bucks and buy the OWC Rover Pro wheels. Or maybe you'll just wish you'd bought that 64-core Threadripper lap crusher we talked about earlier. It doesn't need wheels at all, it's less expensive, it's faster, and hey, you even get a great workout because nobody can go to the gym anymore, and what better way to work out than toting around a 35-pound laptop. It looks like China's state-sponsored hacking of corporations continues unabated, with Taiwan's semiconductor industry as their current target. The series of deep intrusions, called Operation Skeleton Key due to the attackers' use of a skeleton key injector technique, appear to be aimed at stealing as much intellectual property as possible, including source code, software, development kits, chip designs, you name it. If it ain't tied down, they're going to steal it. Taiwanese cybersecurity firm Cycraft was able to essentially hack the hackers and browse the contents of the group's cloud server, which included what they described as a cheat sheet for the hackers outlining their standard operating procedure for their intrusions. That document was notably written in simplified Chinese characters used in mainland China but not in Taiwan. The hackers also appeared to largely operate within Beijing's time zone to follow a 996 work schedule, which means 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week, which is common in the Chinese tech industry, and to take off mainland Chinese holidays as well. Now, I mean, I get countries spying on each other. It's not nice, but it's expected and everybody does it. But governments hacking corporations to steal their IP and design so they can give it to their favorite Chinese company is just a really underhanded move. Now, in non-hacking government news, the U.S. Air Force has chosen ULA and SpaceX to handle their launch needs for the 2022 to 2026 timeframe. ULA won 60% of the launches, with SpaceX winning the remaining 40%. The other two bidders, Northrop Grumman and Blue Origin, did not win contracts. Now, ULA has been developing a new booster called Vulcan Centaur that can meet Air Force needs while using a US-based propulsion system because after 2022, Congress has mandated they aren't allowed to use the Russian-made RD-180 rocket engines anymore. The rocket's first stage will be powered by the BE-4 engine, which is being developed and manufactured by Blue Origin. SpaceX, of course, has the Falcon 9 and the Falcon Heavy, with Starship making good progress in its development. From 2022 to 2026, Roper said the Air Force expects to award a total of 30 to 34 contracts for missions, and if you assume the 60-40 split in the contracts, this will likely result in contract values of about $3.5 billion for ULA and $2.5 billion for SpaceX. This is money that SpaceX can definitely use because it was just revealed that SpaceX has been manufacturing 120 Starlink satellites a month. Right now, SpaceX can launch a maximum of 60 satellites per Falcon 9 launch, but Starship should be able to launch about 250-ish at a time, and it'll do it at a fraction of the cost of the Falcon 9. The FCC has currently approved Starlink for up to 12,000 satellites, but SpaceX has requested permission to put up 30,000 more than that. So you guys can see why SpaceX wants Starship up and running so badly. Now, I find some really nice pics from a Twitter user, link in the description, that shows just how much larger the cargo area is inside of Starship than in Falcon 9. If you look at the picture, the yellow area is the entire fairing from the Falcon 9 inside of Starship's fairing, which is in red. You get the picture. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. Did you realize just how much bigger the cargo area was in Starship than Falcon 9? Last off, it looks like EA's return to Steam is making the company big profits because out of the top 20 best-selling games on Steam for July, EA had 8 of them. Imagine that. Someone at EA actually had a good idea and earned their bonus for once. And that's going to wrap things up for today's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you like this video, I'd appreciate it if you would hit the like and subscribe button. Hey, it doesn't cost you anything. You can always change your mind later. I will leave you guys with a Hubble clip. Until next time, take care.